They said it was impossible. 3 years had passed since little Emily Carter had spoken a single word. 3 long years of silence. The Carter mansion, once filled with music, laughter, and the gentle voice of a child asking endless questions, had grown cold. Its marble floors reflected only footsteps, never giggles. Its vast rooms echoed with emptiness, never the sound of play. Emily had been only 6 years old when tragedy struck. A rainy night, a twisting road, a mother's gentle hand trying to shield her child. A crash, shattered glass, screams that melted into silence. Her mother didn't survive. Emily did. But the words she once loved so much seemed to vanish from her lips. She had entered a silence so deep that even the most skilled doctors could not reach her. Richard Carter, her father, was a man of immense wealth. He was a businessman whose empire stretched across cities. But all his power, all his money, all his influence, could not buy back his daughter's voice. He tried, oh, how he tried. World-renowned specialists were flown in. Therapists worked tirelessly. Clinics in Europe, Asia, America opened their doors to her. Machines beeped, charts filled, notes were scribbled. But at the end of each session, Emily would simply stare out the window, her eyes fixed on something far beyond reach, and her lips remained sealed. For Richard, the silence became unbearable. He filled the house with expensive toys, hoping to see her play. He hired musicians to fill the halls with sound, hoping music might awaken her spirit. He even brought in therapy animals, gentle dogs, hoping they might bring a spark of joy. But nothing. Each night he would stand at the door of her bedroom, watching her small frame curled under the blanket, her wide eyes staring at the ceiling. He prayed silently, whispering, "Please, Emily, just say something, anything." But silence answered him back. The mansion, though filled with riches, felt more like a prison of grief. Then came Samuel. He wasn't a doctor. He wasn't a therapist. He wasn't even a teacher. He was hired simply as a janitor. The Carter estate was enormous. Its marble staircases and endless hallways demanded constant care. Samuel, a man in his 50s with graying hair and tired hands, had been working small jobs across the city when the agency sent him here. To the staff, he was just another cleaner. To Richard, he was invisible. But to Emily, Samuel was about to become everything. He was different from the others. He didn't speak in hushed medical terms. He didn't wear a white coat. He didn't look at Emily with pity. He carried himself with quiet humility, and in his eyes rested something Emily hadn't seen in years: warmth. Samuel noticed things, little things no one else paid attention to. The way Emily's hands fidgeted when she was nervous, the way she clutched her crayons like lifelines, the way her gaze lingered on simple things, sunlight streaming through a curtain, the sound of rain tapping on glass. One evening, as he pushed his cleaning cart through the living room, he noticed Emily sitting cross-legged on the floor. A box of crayons lay scattered beside her, but no drawings on the paper. Without hesitation, Samuel knelt down. He picked up a crayon, not to ask her to draw, not to instruct her, but to draw something himself. On a piece of scrap paper, he sketched a cat, but not an ordinary cat. A cat with ears too big, a tail that curled like a spring, and a nose comically large. When he finished, he turned the paper around, showing Emily, for a moment, nothing. She stared blankly, but then her lips curved, a small, fleeting smile. Samuel chuckled softly. "Ugly cat, huh?" he whispered, almost to himself. It was the first time in 3 years anyone had seen Emily smile. From that moment, Samuel made it a ritual. Each night, after his work was done, he would sit with Emily for a few minutes. Sometimes he drew animals. Sometimes he doodled balloons. Sometimes he made silly faces to match the drawings. And Emily watched. She never spoke, but her eyes followed his hand, her smile returning more often now. The housekeeper noticed. "She's different when he's around," she whispered to Richard. But Richard dismissed it. "He's just a janitor." Don't give Emily false hope. He didn't know yet. That hope had already begun to grow. Days turned into weeks. Emily began to wait for Samuel's visits. The moment his cartwheel squeaked against the floor, her eyes lit up. Samuel never pressured her. He didn't ask her to speak. He simply shared moments. One day, he folded a paper boat. He placed it on the floor, giving it a dramatic push. Emily leaned forward, curious. He made sound effects, whoosh, like the ocean waves, until Emily covered her mouth, giggling. It was the first sound of joy in 3 years. The staff noticed. Whispers filled the hallways. She laughed. She actually laughed. But Richard remained skeptical. It's temporary, don't get carried away. Still, one night, he lingered near the doorway, unseen, as Samuel sat with Emily. He watched his daughter laugh silently, her shoulders shaking as Samuel drew a dog with crossed eyes. Something stirred in Richard's chest, a feeling he hadn't allowed himself in years. Could it be? Could she really be waking up from her silence? He wanted to believe, but fear kept him from hope. Then, one stormy afternoon, the miracle happened. The rain poured heavily outside, thunder rattling the windows. The mansion was cloaked in gray. Emily sat quietly, her crayons untouched. Samuel walked in, shaking droplets of rain from his sleeves. He smiled gently, sat down, and picked up a yellow crayon. On a large sheet of paper, he began to draw a sun, a huge, radiant sun with lines stretching out like arms. Emily's eyes fixed on it. Her little hands trembled, reaching for her own crayon. For a long moment, the only sound was the rain. Then, a whisper, barely audible, a single word. Sun. Samuel froze. His eyes widened, heart pounding. "What did you say?" he whispered, tears already gathering. Emily looked up at him, her lips trembling, louder this time. "Son." At that exact moment, Richard entered the room, briefcase in hand. He dropped it instantly, the papers scattering across the floor. "Emily," his voice cracked, "did you just—" She turned to him. For the first time in years, she looked into her father's eyes and said again, with a tiny smile, "Son." Richard fell to his knees, sobbing, clutching his daughter in his arms. "My baby girl. I thought I lost you." Samuel stood back, wiping his tears quietly. It was a moment none of them would ever forget. From that day forward, the silence began to break piece by piece. Emily started small. Simple words, cat, balloon, and daddy. Each one like music to Richard's ears. He recorded every moment, replaying it at night when she was asleep, tears in his eyes. Samuel continued his quiet work. He never acted like a miracle worker. He simply came, drew, laughed, listened, and Emily bloomed. Richard began joining them. At first, awkwardly, not knowing how. But soon he too sat on the floor, drawing silly pictures, laughing when Emily corrected him. The mansion that once echoed with emptiness now rang with laughter again. Doctors were stunned. Therapists shook their heads in disbelief. But Samuel only smiled when asked. "I didn't heal her," he said. "I just gave her a reason to want to speak again." Months passed. Emily grew stronger, more talkative, more joyful. She no longer sat staring at windows, but ran through hallways, her laughter bouncing off the walls. Richard often sat back, watching in awe. His daughter, his world, had come back to life. One evening he approached Samuel. "I want to repay you. Name anything. Money, a house, security for life. You deserve it." But Samuel shook his head. "I didn't do it for money, sir. I did it because I saw a little girl who needed someone to sit with her, that's all." Richard's eyes welled with tears. "You gave me back my daughter. I'll never forget that." Samuel smiled softly. Sometimes, the smallest kindness opens the biggest doors. All Emily needed was someone to listen. And with that, he returned to his work, mop in hand, quiet as ever, carrying a heart richer than any fortune. Emily kept her crayon drawing of the sun on her bedroom wall. To her, it wasn't just a picture. It was the day her voice came back. This story is not just about a girl who spoke again. It's about patience, about love, about the power of human connection. Richard Carter, a man of great wealth, once believed money could solve anything. But he discovered the truth. Healing often comes not from riches, but from kindness. And Samuel, a janitor the world overlooked, reminded us all that the greatest healers are sometimes the simplest of souls. So the next time you feel powerless in the face of someone's pain, remember Samuel, remember Emily, and remember the sun, drawn with nothing but a crayon, but powerful enough to light up the darkest silence. Because sometimes, all it takes is one act of kindness to change a life forever. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and join us for more real stories of hope, healing, and transformation.